Mike, you are heading back to the downline, roger?
Roger, there's the round bar that leads to the starboard arch, up on the slack.
Ascending the 49 meters, or 160 feet, Mike must now make decompression stops in the water before entering the recompression chamber on board the Nadro Clipper. The use of this helmet gear on this dive has been very useful, but Mike is not the first diver to explore the wreck using a helmet. When the Atlantic went down, the American Express Company arrived at the scene. They were anxious to recover their strongbox that contained $36,000 in cash and gold. When the divers learned of the depth of the wreck, they flatly refused to dive. The task fell to a local diver, Johnny Green. Johnny faced incredible challenges. His pumps had to be modified to increase the air pressure, and his hose burst on several occasions. Groping in the dark, he had trouble locating the stateroom that contained the strongbox. There was a constant worry of becoming entangled in the wreckage. Fearing for Johnny's life, the American Express Company called off the search, but Johnny persisted. In August of 1855, he went back on his own. Johnny felt that the gold shipment would be his to claim. On that dive, he sawed through the stateroom wall and pulled the safe out onto the Atlantic's deck and left it there on the corridor outside the cabin wall. Having just completed one of the longest and deepest dives in history, Johnny had no idea of the shock that his body was about to experience.
I got you, Johnny.
Elated that he had all but to secure the safe, Johnny Green returned to the surface for the heavy rigging necessary to recover his prize. He was soon struck with excruciating pain. Johnny had dove too deep and stayed too long. He was experiencing what divers know now as decompression sickness, or the bends. Paralyzed and near death, he was rushed to Port Dover. Almost 150 years later, Mike faces the same threat of decompression sickness that crippled Johnny Green in 1855. Technical advances in modern medicine have solved some of the problems that Johnny faced.
Good job, Mike.
Dennis Barrington readies the chamber. He will only have 7 minutes from his last in-water decompression stop to secure himself inside the recompression chamber.
You got comms there, Dennis?
The recompression chamber has 2 separate locks and two-way communications.
Hatch is closed.
Mike will breathe pure oxygen as Dennis quickly takes him down to 40 feet. Once stabilized, Mike simply needs to wait in the chamber 22 minutes before the risk of decompression sickness is eliminated. It took nearly a year of recuperation and waiting in constant pain before Johnny Green could return to the Atlantic. Still partially paralyzed from the bends, he dove to the wreck only to find his prize missing. He found out later that just days before his return to the Atlantic, Elliot Harrington, a diver from New York State, had recovered the coveted strongbox. Outraged, Johnny argued that all the difficult work had been done. Harrington only had to secure a line to the strongbox and then pull it to the surface. But Johnny's sad tale is not the only story of attempts to wrestle riches from Atlantic. In the 1870s, a group of investors from Cleveland, Ohio, lost a great deal of money with a grandiose plan to raise the entire wreck. What were those salvors after? The safe that had contained the $36,000 in American Express gold was recovered in 1856 by Harrington. Later, salvors were after what could have been a bigger bonanza: the passengers' possessions resting on the bottom of the lake packed in steamer trunks. It was believed that the Norwegians were carrying their life savings in gold. As far as anyone knows, that gold could still be down there. But the most curious visitor was the eccentric Laudner Phillips of Michigan City, Indiana. Laudner's patented submarine of 1852 was incredibly advanced for its time. He promoted his invention to the Navy and was told that their vessels sailed on the water, not under.